In 2021, Gabby Petito, a 22-year-old travel vlogger, set off on a road trip across the United States with her fiancé Brian Laundrie. The couple planned to travel through national parks in a white van while documenting their journey on social media. Their destination included places like Grand Teton National Park and other famous landscapes across the country. On Instagram and YouTube, everything looked perfect. Smiles, scenic views, and the dream of van life. But behind the photos and videos, something darker was unfolding. Within weeks, the dream road trip would turn into one of the most shocking true crime cases in recent American history. During their road trip across the United States, witnesses reported seeing Gabby Petito and Brian Laundrie arguing near Arches National Park. Soon after, police officers in Moab, Utah, stopped the couple's white van. Body camera footage captured a tense moment. Gabby appeared extremely emotional and was seen crying while speaking with officers. Brian, on the other hand, seemed calm as he explained their argument. Police determined it was a domestic dispute but decided not to press charges. Instead, they separated the couple for the night. At the time, it seemed like just another argument on a stressful road trip. But that video would later become one of the most haunting pieces of evidence in the case. In late August 2021, communication from Gabby Petito suddenly stopped. Her family grew worried when they no longer received messages from her during the road trip across the United States. Then something even more disturbing happened. On September 1, Brian Laundrie returned alone to his parents' home in Northport, Florida. He was driving the same white van the couple had used for their trip. But Gabby was nowhere to be seen. Even more shocking, Brian refused to speak with investigators. As concern grew nationwide, Gabby's family officially reported her missing. What began as a travel adventure had now turned into a nationwide search. As the search for Gabby Petito intensified across the United States, attention quickly turned to her fiancé, Brian Laundrie. He had returned alone to his family home in Northport, Florida, driving the van the couple used during their trip. Despite being the last person known to have seen Gabby, Brian refused to speak with investigators. Instead, his family hired a lawyer, and he remained silent as the search for Gabby grew nationwide. Then, just days later, Brian himself disappeared. His parents reported that he had gone hiking in a nearby nature reserve and never returned. Suddenly, the investigation had two mysteries: a missing woman and a missing suspect. On September 19, 2021, investigators searching near Grand Teton National Park made a tragic discovery. Human remains were found in a remote area of the park in Wyoming, in the United States. Soon after, authorities confirmed the identity. The remains belonged to Gabby Petito. The news shocked the nation and devastated her family, who had been desperately hoping she would be found alive. Investigators later ruled her death a homicide. At that moment, the case officially transformed from a missing person investigation into a murder investigation. And all eyes turned once again to one person, Brian Laundrie. After the death of Gabby Petito was confirmed, investigators intensified the search for Brian Laundrie. But by then, Brian had already disappeared. Authorities began a massive search in the Carlton Reserve, a large wilderness area near Northport, Florida. For weeks, law enforcement officers, search teams, and even the Federal Bureau of Investigation combed through the dense swampy terrain. Helicopters, drones, and canine units were used in the search. Meanwhile, the case captured worldwide attention, dominating headlines and social media. But despite the massive effort, Brian Laundrie remained missing. And the mystery continued to grow. In October 2021, the search for Brian Laundrie finally led to a major discovery. Investigators searching the Meowcahatchee Creek Environmental Park, near Northport, Florida, found human remains along with personal belongings that belonged to Brian. Soon after, authorities confirmed the remains were his. The Federal Bureau of Investigation later announced that Brian Laundrie had died from a self-inflicted gunshot wound. Near the remains, investigators also discovered a notebook. According to officials, the notebook contained a written confession about the death of Gabby Petito. The shocking discovery finally brought a tragic end to the nationwide manhunt. The tragic death of Gabby Petito quickly became one of the most followed criminal cases in recent history across the United States. Millions of people around the world followed every update as investigators searched for answers. The case also sparked important conversations about domestic violence, social media, and the hidden realities behind seemingly perfect online lives. After the discovery of the remains of Brian Laundrie in Florida, the investigation officially reached its conclusion. But for Gabby's family, the loss remains immeasurable. Today, her story continues to be shared through documentaries, reports, and discussions around the world. A road trip that once looked like a dream ended as a tragedy that captured global attention. The case of Gabby Petito became one of the most widely followed true crime stories in recent years across the United States and around the world. What began as a dream road trip documented on social media ended in tragedy, revealing a darker reality behind the images shared online. The discovery of Gabby's remains near Grand Teton National Park and the later finding of Brian Laundrie in Florida brought a heartbreaking conclusion to the investigation. But beyond the headlines and the global attention, the story remains a reminder of a young life lost far too soon. Today, the name Gabby Petito continues to symbolize a case that raised awareness, sparked important conversations, and left a lasting impact on millions of people who followed her story.